everybody, welcome back to Speed Shop. We are continuing on the 1970 GMC. In this video, we're going to get into, what are we going to get into? Drive shaft repair, the cab cleaning. Hopefully we get the cab put back on the truck, on the frame, wiring, all that good stuff to where we can crank this thing using the key in the truck. So hopefully we get into that in this video. So let's get into it. I already started this process, but one of the things I'm working on right now, because if you remember, if you watched the last video, if not, you can go back and look at that, and I'll put in the link down below, is the torque converter started catching on the flywheel or the flex plate and spewing fluid. So I'm gonna get that hooked up, but first I need transmission lines. I already started one. See that one right there? So I'm working on the second one right now, getting it bent up and ready to go. So that's what we're gonna start on, is that, the first line, and started on the second line over here, which, as you can see, will go about like that. And I just gotta bend it that way. All right, we got the second line bent up now. If you notice, you see how they're short. They only go that far. Why do I do that? The reason why I do that, because then I can disconnect. I'm gonna put a union here. I can disconnect it from there and leave these lines in, because there's sometimes where there just isn't room to get up in there to get a wrench on these fittings. In this truck, there's probably plenty of room, but this is just something I've always done. Building custom cars, you know that, at some point you're pulling the transmission out. So it's a lot easier to remove from down here and just drop the whole thing out rather than trying to get a wrench up into this area, especially in a car. But that's why I'm doing it. So now I'm gonna take those out and flare them, put another nut on there with a union, and then we'll be able to continue the rest of it to the front for when we get a radiator up there. They do look nice when you go through the hassle of bending them up and customizing them. And there you have the finished product. So now I can just run any line off of here with the 5/8 18 or the 3/8 tube for the fuel or the cooler lines. And this way I can just drop this straight down with just disconnected this underneath the starter, pull the whole transmission out if I want to, good to go. And there you have it, all installed and finished. Now I just gotta run lines to the front and make those whatever length I want. I'm not sure where I want to do that yet because I don't have the radiator in there, so I don't have the exact measurements. So that'll probably wait. What I'm gonna do is put a couple of tubes in there and just loop it around so I can hook the torque converter up for the next time I start this thing up. Just in case you're wondering, these are not compression fittings. These are flare fittings. So the exact same fittings you put in for brake lines where you get that seal from. Same with these and these couplers. So don't think it's a compression fitting, because it's not. All right, so I got those lines looped now. I just added a couple pieces of scrap metal or scrap tubing I had laying around. Tied it into those, to the ones coming out of the transmission, and just ran some automatic transmission cooler line and looped it around. That way it won't spew now if the torque converter is bolted up. And speaking of that, I got the bolts right over there in that bag. We're going to go ahead and bolt the torque converter. We're going to bolt that round donut looking thing up to the flat. I cannot talk today. We're going to put the donut onto that flat metal ring with the teeth on it. Yeah, so the torque converter is bolted in now, so that's all good. Next thing I think we're going to work on is the drive shaft. So I got the new bearing, and it's not the same as the old one, but I think we can make it work because it seems to be all the same parts, just a different mounting process. And I think if we just space it out, we could probably just use it as is, but we'll see. So this here's the new bearing. And the thing about it is, let me cut this apart. So this has all the same parts as the original did. So I had this cup right here, along with this. So that's that cup right there. It goes on, which just goes on this shaft right here like this, and gets pressed on. Then this one, just goes on there. And we have that one, which again goes on there. And then the bearing itself which goes on just fine. Needs to be pressed on. You got another cup here, which is basically kind of like that one, or actually, I'm sorry, that one. And that goes on there. Needs to be tapped on, but seems to be pressed on. But once it gets it over there, then I think everything will be right and in the same position, but just we got to mount this to the plate on the frame. And because there is a different height difference here by about maybe a ½ inch to an inch. So you just do a spacer and bring it down into where it's supposed to be. The only other option would be to do all that and then cut this out and utilize the original with this rubber around here. That's so much wider than what the original one was. So that rubber is definitely a lot wider than what the original was. But the bearing is the same. So I think we're just gonna utilize this, make it work, and we'll figure out a way of bolting this to the plate underneath there. I think to get this on here, I'm gonna use this pipe and get these two on first. Does that fit? I might have to go smaller for that one, or put something on there that'll work. So let me see. Let me get a bearing race like this. There we go. That gets it close to the center of it. Now I'll use the pipe to gently tap that on. All right, I got to set up this a little bit different. There's my new setup. That should work a little better. It's already started on there, so it's working. Just needed something to be able to stop it from moving. That looks good. This one here goes on next. Oh yeah, perfect. All right, I think we're good there. Now, for the fun part, getting this bearing all the way on. Does that fit down in there? It will not. How about this one? That's too big. What to do? Actually, this pipe fits over the drive shaft. If it goes, oh yeah, that'll work. Let me just clean this up and we'll use it. All right, so I got that pipe cleaned up. Let's get this hammered in. We're good on that. Now one last sleeve here. I'll be back once I get that on there. All right, so we got that all pressed on there now. Well, hammered on there, I should say. I think we'll be good on that. Got a nice flexibility in it still, and very smooth. So now he's got to figure out spacing for that to put it on, but it's in the same location as the original, so we should be good. I think the difference between this mount and the new mount is about an inch. So you kind of look, get close to center line just by eyeballing it. You're looking at about 3.5 inches. And I just stuck it in here to see if the holes will line up. And of course they don't, so you have to drill new holes as well. And center line on this, if the duck would let me measure. This would be easier without being in the car, but so we're looking at about 2.5 there. So I think a 1 inch spacer will probably take care of it. We got to drill new holes to make it work. But other than that, I think it'll work just fine. What we're gonna do to combat it's actually 1.25 inch difference between the center line of this plate and the center line of this, is I got this 1 inch, there's 2x1 tubing. I got this 1/4 inch plate. So I'm gonna cut this up and then I'll weld it on to, a piece that's wide enough here to bring that distance where it needs to be. And that should take care of our mounting issues. We'll have to drill holes in the plate too, because I thought they were close, but they're really not. These holes that are already there, well, where it needs to be is in the middle. And yeah, and I think they're narrower maybe? I don't know, but they don't line up. Ain't a big deal, just a couple holes, but that's what we're gonna do. All right, we have a mid-bearing mount now. Now mind you, the bolts that I have on there are not the ones that are staying. I gotta pick up someone. I found one that was long enough that's rusty and one that's way too long. and fine thread. So, but the spacer worked perfect. And I did put a sleeve inside here so it can be clamped down and not have to worry about crushing and all that crap, even though once it's tightened down, it shouldn't matter. But I made sure it was sturdy and not gonna move. So got that done. Now I gotta figure out the next part, which is the seal, which I got a new one here, which doesn't work, but I have an idea. I think I can cut this rubber out of here and then it'll fit the original one. And it's got this blocker sleeve right here that goes behind it. So I think with that, it can work. Because if you look, the size of it, exactly what the diameter inside this metal is. So I think that should work for a seal. But it's got to cut it out, be very careful. Do it gingerly or whatever. But yeah, that should work. And you just screw it back on the way it was. All right, so it's become pretty clear that this seal right here will not screw on there or press on there in any way, shape, or form. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna cut this rubber out because this is the right size to go in the original one that screws onto the end here. And we can just replace it that way. This is what retains the rubber inside here. So the rubber will go first, then this retainer, and then it'll all screw on there and hold it in place. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna cut that out. And this is what I'm gonna use to cut it out. Very sharp. Oh, I need a new blade. But I got those. So we're gonna very carefully cut this out from around here. Now that ain't gonna work. How can I get that out? Oh, I'll be back when I figure it out. Well, I got it out. The problem is there was too much metal around here. That was part of it. Probably if I could have figured out a way to cut it, might have worked, but now it's too small. It shrunk after I actually got it cut out, and it will not stay in there. It's just gonna drop right out. So yeah. Oh well, figure out something else, I guess. See if I can find just the rubber piece, but I can't seem to find it anywhere. Well, I got another one of the seals on order, and it's actually the one that's got the screw-on cap like this. And it looks right at least, so hopefully it will be. But yeah, next time I'll do more research before I go and do anything like that again, but I can go in there. So anyways, I think the next things we need to do, what do we need to do? We got the drive shaft in there. We can pull it apart and paint all that stuff. But that's all good there. I think the carburetor needs to be gone through because it's not getting fuel to the front bowl when I pressurize the fuel. It comes to the back, but not the front. So the bowl's empty unless I fill it. So something's blocking or stopping in there. So it needs to be pulled apart. I think I have one carb kit here. I have to check and see if it's the right one or not, but hopefully I got some parts for it. If not, I'll have to order one. Those carb kits are getting expensive though for some reason. Probably because it's China or something, who knows. But anyways, that's another thing we need to do is pull that carb off there. Oh yeah, and I got the right thermostat housing gasket. So we can put that on to finish that part up. Yeah, so we're gonna pull this carb off. All right, so messing around with the water pump. Got the gasket on for the thermostat housing. Got the right length bolts for these. And for this right here, I cut two of the barbs off of there because I wasn't really liking how this was lining up on there. And I didn't want it to cut into the hose and cause a leak. So just fix that, just cut that down a little bit and it should take care of it. I just need to put it all back on. And there we go. So we got that on there. I want to change the hose clamps though because these are too long. Just don't have any here. So something I'll have to get later. Well, we got the freeze plugs in, water pump's on permanently now. Thermostat housing's on permanently. Now we gotta pull the carb off so we can take a look at that and see why we're not getting fuel to the front bowls. Well, I was a little disappointed in what I had in this kit. This is just leftover stuff. But I did find these, which is good because one of these is leaking. So hopefully that'll help seal that up. And we gotta figure out why that one ain't filling. Probably one of the worst things to have to do, and that's pull these damn fuel lines off because This kit does not seal very good. So once you have it sealed, you don't want to lose that seal, but that's kind of what happens. I think I get to see them wrapped in tape. And they loosen the nut up here too, going into the carb. Yep. I think it's a 1-inch. And of course, it's so big you can't really get anything on it. It's like a 1/4 inch of room to put both wrenches on there. And we gotta go that way. Okay. That was a little easier because I was able to squeeze the tube. All right, let me get a regular wrench now. Once again, this is definitely not the carb I'm going to be putting on here because this is way too big for this little tiny 350. This is a 750 double pumper, and it's just a bit much for a stock 350. But I'd like to get this thing to where it works at least. As I spill it on me. Nothing obvious right there. Oh, look at that. There's a freaking mud dauber in there. God, I hate those things. Hopefully they didn't make it up into the port. And that explains why it's not getting fuel to the front. I don't know if you can see that or not. See the little mud dauber nest in there? That's awesome. At least we know why it wasn't getting fuel. All right, let's hope we can get this bowl off here without messing up the gasket. What's the verdict? Did we mess it up? Ooh, I think it's intact. Seems a little high to me. At least we didn't tear the gasket, so we should be good on that. Now for the back bowl, which is the one that is leaking. Well, I think I figured out the reason why the secondaries isn't flooding. Check this out. All the way to the top. You can adjust it down. Okay, we can adjust it down a little bit. We're gonna run out of thread though. Yep, just ran out of thread. So we need to adjust these, the float inside there. Bend it a little bit to make it have the adjustments we need. Not a big deal. All right, so I made some adjustments to the secondaries so that way I can adjust this better. And they're both to the point where I can adjust them a lot nicer and easier. And should be able to do it. And I put a new seal between here and here on both of them. So hopefully that'll stop the leaks. Now the only leaks I got to worry about is this stupid freaking line here. But let's get this thing back together. If I can remember which one's which. This is the secondary. But anyways, let's get this thing back together. Just a quick little tech tip. Make sure you pay attention to the seals on your bolts for your bowls because one stuck to the bowl, one stuck to the bolt, and I tried putting the one with the bolt in the one with the stuck on the bowl, and it doesn't seal all the way. But it's pretty noticeable because it sticks out quite a bit further than the rest of them. But just be mindful of that when you're putting these things together. It happened on both bowls. Oh yeah, my dumb, whatever. Trying to figure out which way the stupid thing goes on here. Well, fuel lines go to the left or go on the right side of the engine. So, but yeah, get it all back together. Now we just put it back on there, pump some fuel to it, and see what we get. All right, so we got the carb all back together. I adjusted the bowls. No more leaks up here. I'm actually getting fuel to the front bowl now. And I got a little distracted because I got company. My son from San Diego and his girlfriend Elaine over there, they stopped in after they went to a wedding down in Texas yesterday. So they're out here for how long?
Till the 14th.
Oh, okay, so like 4 days, huh? Sweet, 3 days. So awesome. So he gets to hang out and help me in the shop here. So you'll probably see a little bit more of him in this video. So yeah, now we just gotta fire it up, but I gotta let the fumes kind of burn off a little bit first before we try to fire it up because I don't want to catch the shop on fire. So we'll be back when it's time to do that. I wasn't recording when we fired it up, but my son and his girlfriend both got views of it. So I'm going to put those right now. able to get it dialed down to 12 degrees initial, and it was running pretty good. The carburetor's still too big for it, and it won't idle fully and right yet, but like I said, you know, different carb will make a big difference in it. It did spring a leak right here in the corner where I was worried about the pan and the gasket and the older timing chain or timing cover where they meet. There was a gap there, and I was hoping the RTV would seal it. It sealed one side, but didn't seal that corner, so I'm gonna have to revisit that at some point. I'm gonna see if I can just kind of fill it with RTV for now until I can get to, because gotta pull it out, flip it over, and do it again, and see if I can find a different oil pan gasket that will fill that gap, but I don't know. So yeah, we got the timing dialed in now. So I got the distributor locked down. It's at 12 right now. I prefer 10-ish, and I can't run it long enough to really get up to temperature because I don't have cooling system on it yet. Get that on there, then we'll run it longer. Hopefully by then I get a different carb. So it's getting closer. We got stuff dialed in now, stuff the way it's supposed to be and where it should be, and transmission is actually bolted up. So that's pretty cool. It's bolted to the torque converter, everything. See what else? Oh yeah, the adjusting the carburetor, it no longer leaks. It's not leaking by. It's not overfilling or running rich now. I still think the idle mixture is all screwed up, but yeah, that's like I said, it's a finicky carb, and I can't run it long enough to really try dialing it in yet because I don't have a cooling system. So, but on that, I think we're good on that. So I think we're gonna start on the cab cleaning, and then go from there. All right, I got the new hardware on there. New bolts painted the spacer, so it looks good. It won't rust now. And Dick is being really loud. So I want opinions here. So do you want to put the load on the nut or load on the bolt? So should this be going down with the nut down here like this, holding it up? Or should the bolt be going up through and the nut holding up the top? I don't think it matters because it's going to hold the same force no matter what. But I know people have debated that. So let me know down in the comments. What do you think? We just got back from the junkyard, me and my boy over here, and looking for pulleys and brackets and stuff to make this work. So as of right now, the pulley I found, which is a zero balanced, neutrally balanced pulley, which is perfect, it lines up really good with the water pump pulley off of the Firebird's original 350. So we got the water pump covered. And this is all the rest of the stuff we got. 2 power steering brackets and a couple alternator brackets, and I'm trying to make everything work. And we might end up having to relocate the alternator to the passenger side, which ain't a big deal. And it's because the wires are long enough. I made them long enough to reach either or. In fact, it'll probably reach better on the passenger side because it comes down the firewall on this side from where I ran it. So should be good. I just gotta figure it all out. And of course, we're gonna remodify the fuel lines and do everything. But we knew that was coming, but we did that. So we got pulleys and some other things. So we just got to figure it all out now. All right, so this is what I've come up with so far. Okay, first, I had to switch to a long water pump. So as you see, we get the long water pump on there. The pulley I found at the junkyard today, it works good for the crank. And also the water pump pulley I found today, that works good there. And it lines up with the alternator on this side with this bracket and that bracket there. So we can make that work for the alternator. We're just going to modify this part of it to attach over here, probably. So I'll probably cut and re-weld that to mount somewhere different. The only other problem with this is it moves. It kind of moves with it, so I don't know. There isn't a whole lot of adjustment, but it is what it is. That's what we got to do because it won't fit over here because it pushes this pulley too far in towards the engine, and it won't line up with any pulleys down here. So, and had to use the original power steering pump brackets, which I really hate because they attach to the motor mount back here, which is a pain in the butt, but the pulleys line up, so I am fine with that. And the water pump lines up. So we got enough, we got a belt. All we need is a belt for these 3 and a belt to go around these 2. And so, and a belt to go around this one. So 1 here and then 1 here. around those three. We should be able to make it work. The other thing I got to worry about now is the heater port, because this here is the only port on the water pump. And I want that to go into here maybe. So I don't know. I got to still figure that whole thing out, since it doesn't have the water port in the block here and going up into the head. So it's another one of those things. All right, so revision 1364. So now I've taken the original adjusting lever for the alternator was on this side and straightened it out, then bent it to work on this side. So now I have adjustment on this side. So power steering pump is good. That belt, the original one, will work. And I'll have to figure out something with the fuel line. But like I said, this carburetor is going to be changing. But I can make something work with this to even get this one running with what it is. So yeah, that's where we're at on that. Should be just as simple as getting some belts like around between 39 and 45 inches and making it work. So there you have it. We got all the pulleys and everything taken off, but there's a reason for that. Right now we are painting and making them look pretty. So those are the alternator brackets. All the pulleys are out there drying in the sun. And once they all dry, we'll start putting it all on permanently. And this part will be done. I would take the power steering brackets off, but I don't want to, because it's a pain in the butt to get those all off of there. So I'm not gonna worry about it. They're already kind of painted black and cleaned up. So I'm fine with the way they look right now, and nobody's gonna see it anyway. So that'll be good for that. I got the first pulley back on there. I still gotta add the fan, but I'm not gonna put that on until the last minute because I don't want to deal with that. Plus, it needs a new clutch anyways. So I think, by looking at it, I think it's probably a good idea. I should probably paint the water pump too. You know, it almost looks like it's painted, but I don't know, did they paint it with cast iron paint? Probably not. So I might hit that with a coat of aluminum engine enamel just to see, just to protect it basically. Okay, so one of the things I was talking about is how this doesn't have the hole like the water pump does. So what I'm gonna do to hopefully fix that, I'm gonna drill a hole just through the thermostat. Just a little 1/8 inch hole, so that way it has a bleeder hole. A lot of these come with a little flapper in them, but I'm just gonna drill a hole with an 1/8 inch drill bit. It's always worked in the past, so that's what I'm gonna try. If it overheats, then we know where to look. All right, so let's drill a little 1/8 inch hole in there, and that should be enough to keep the air out of it. Hopefully, because this doesn't have the channel going up to the head on a Vortec like a normal small block does. Hopefully that'll take care of it. If not, because I switched to the long neck water pump, or the long water pump, it doesn't have a provision to do a bypass at the top like the short does. So, and I also did paint it with the aluminum just to protect it a little bit. And so yeah, we'll know once we get some coolant in it and start running it a little bit longer if that's going to fix it or not. I think it should. I think it'll be fine. All right, we got all the pulleys painted and looking nice now. Got the brackets painted looking nice. Got the water pump painted looking nice. Got one belt on. I still need the belt for the alternator and water pump. But other than that, that's going to be a complete accessory kit. It's a little modified. Now the alternator's on the passenger side. Power steering pump's in the same place. A little different pulleys on the, well, different water pump and everything. So I went to the long water pump in order for everything to work. So now it's going to come up with, I need some plugs. Let's plug these off, or that's going to be a heater port. Find a different port for that, maybe a 45 for the other heater port. And yeah, so we're getting closer. I decided to test the radiator that I have for this truck. So I put a hose down there, pinched it off just to see if it's leaking at all. So far, it's still full of water. I know it's not pressurized yet, but can't do that until I add heat to it. So looks like we'll probably be good to test it out at least with this. I think since we got the pulleys figured out now, we can actually make it run a little bit longer. So I want to get the core support set up for it so we can get that radiator put in and run this thing for a little longer. And the core support's over here, so we'll probably take it out and clean her up. Maybe put a little paint on her and get her in there so we can get the radiator in. So I don't know if y'all have noticed, but I'm delaying the work on the cab because I really don't want to crawl underneath it and start grinding away on it yet. Just because it's dirty and I don't feel like doing it. So try to do as much as we can prior to that. All right, so I got the core support sitting up here. I'm gonna take everything off of it so I can clean every part of it. I'm planning on doing octane lighting for it. They're an H4 conversion. That way I can put an LED in it as well. Try to figure out why this one bulb is turned cockeyed. I don't know if they just installed it wrong or if it's the wrong bulb for that socket, because that can happen too, because with dual headlights like this, there is a difference in the way they sit in there. So, gotta get these out of here, get all the parts off so I can clean everything and get it ready for paint. All right, so I got most of that stuff off of there. There's a few little plastic pieces left over. These, the lower radiator mounts, they're rubber, but they're like, the mounts themselves are riveted in on the bottom, and the rubber, I'm not sure if I can pull that out yet or not. Oh yeah, they come right out. So we can get those out too. So it makes it kind of nice when you get down in there. Should probably use a flathead screwdriver to do this. That'll work too, and those can be cleaned up. It's got a little bit of rust on them. Yeah, another unique thing about, well, I don't know how unique it is, because it's my first like C10 truck type of thing, but the buckets, the headlight buckets are part of the core support. Like on my Firebird, they're separate. But yeah. And that light bulb that was cockeyed, it was just that. It was cockeyed, it wasn't put in properly, or it spun or whatever, but so I just needed to twist it and it fell right down where it's supposed to be, so they are the right bulbs, but I'm changing them anyways. So now I gotta clean this whole thing up and get it ready to put some paint on her and maybe straighten it up a little bit too. Looks like it's bent down here. It's probably from that, where took that hit in the fender. So I'll have to play around with that a little bit, but it's gonna be all right. All right, so I got the outside all cleaned up, not ready for paint. So I'm gonna paint that, then I'll let it all dry and then I'll flip it over and do the rest. Yeah, we got the outside portion of it painted now. Still drying. It's a satin black, so it'll dry a little duller than that. You see where it's kind of shiny there, but a little more dull over here. That's going to be closer to what it is once it's completely dry. So it's kind of warm today, and this is going to be the last thing I do today. It's about 7 o'clock at night, so I'm about ready to call it a night. Get him put away. And then tomorrow, I can come out here and flip it and do the underside of it, or the inside of it. So the inside of this was kind of crusty, but cleaned up as best I could, where I could reach it. This is the times where I wish I did have a media blaster of some sort. But that's all good too. So I sprayed it with the rust reformer, which is the Rust-Oleum stuff that I like so much. That stuff right there. And that'll convert the rust that I couldn't reach, and I sprayed it pretty thick down inside all the edges and corners and, you know, any kind of gaps or holes I had. So that should be good enough to coat it. And I'll probably just leave it flat black because it's on the inside. And we'll go back over the top edge here with the satin black once that all dries. Just so it's all, the stuff you can see is satin. But yeah, so that's good to go there. I got the new cushions, new core support mounts ready to go. There's the bottom half. And once that dries, then we'll get to putting that stuff on. Let's see if the radiator leaked down at all overnight. Still got water all the way up to here. I don't know if it leaked down at all or not. I think the level was a little further out last night. I don't see anything that's like wet, but you know, who knows. I plan on replacing this radiator anyways, because for one, it's heavy and nasty, and look at it. So, but we'll figure that out as time comes. I just want to make sure we can fire this thing up with coolant or water in it. Make sure we don't have any leaks, because I have yet to run this with any kind of coolant in it. So I don't know if the head gaskets are blowing or anything. So, you know, one of those things. It seems to run way too good for a blown head gasket, but you know how it goes. But anyways, that's where we're at. And there you have it, folks. We got a nice, clean looking core support on there now. It's not tightened down because I don't know where it needs to be adjusted to yet. And that'll all come with the body work and relining the fenders and everything. But looking pretty good so far. There's a couple braces that need to go back on here, but haven't cleaned and painted those yet. So I'm trying to figure out what they nicked or what they cut out right there for, but who knows? I think it looks pretty good. I decided it was just time for a new radiator. So yeah, just a quick little spray job. Should probably do the bottom down there too. All right, I got the radiator in. However, problem is the fan. This is a fan I got from the junkyard the other day. It's a little too big to fit in the shroud. It's exactly the same diameter. So either I cut the shroud or find a smaller fan. I want to keep a clutch on there because a buddy of mine that's a radiator and cooling and heating specialist out in San Diego, they always recommend the clutch style fan. So that's what I want to go with on this one, at least for now. But yeah, gotta do something about the fan. Well, we got a package from Summit. Let's see what we got. This new seal for our mid-shaft bearing slide yoke thingy. So let's see if it'll fit. So I bought this because in the picture, it showed it having the teeth like that in it. But this bag does not have those shapes. So I don't know what the heck. It's just a cork freaking whatever. And a snap ring. At least this looks right, but I don't know. I'm a little disappointed. It's not what the picture was. But we'll see if it'll work. You want to at least spin on. All right, the new one spins on. So that goes on. And then leave the snap ring, but I'm going to use the one that's shaped properly. And I guess this thing. How the hell is that supposed to seal anything? Figure out how to tuck that thing in there. Let's take this out. See if we can just do it. Get it to tuck in there the whole way. Just thought of something. I think that ring's supposed to be on the opposite side of it. That's perfect. Yeah, it's supposed to hold it into the ring. Well, I guess it makes it a little bit easier to install it that way, huh? I can't tell if that's going on or not. I don't think it is. There it goes, I think. Yep. Is that necessary there, Dick? I don't think it is. I'm gonna work here. Alright, I don't want to press it out any more than that. Still slides. Now I can hook up the drive shaft permanently. Cool. Alright, so the drive shaft is completely bolted in now. We got a new seal on the slip yoke. Good to go for that, for the drivetrain. I actually got lucky. We got an extra set of headlamp adjusters that are exactly the same as what I took off, I think. Yep. These came with the Firebird. Hopefully all the adjusters are there, but so yeah, now I can replace all the hardware for that on here. Because the Firebird's got brand new ones too. I'm not sure how I got two kits of them, but I did. But now I got one for this. I know why I got an extra set of these laying around, because these don't fit. These ones don't fit. The springs are the same, so I can use those. And you can usually get these at any hardware or any parts store. But yeah, the way they're designed, the width of it's just too much. But at least the springs are the same. At least I think they are. Maybe facing the wrong direction. You'd think they'd be the same, but they're not. Oh, that one is. No, it ain't. Okay, never mind. I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here. Basically, I need a lower radiator hose. I need to hook the power steering lines up. I need to start rerouting some stuff here now that we got the pulleys and accessories figured out. It shouldn't be too hard. We can still route those down through underneath the alternator, which is still pretty smooth. And fuel system, fuel line, we need to reroute that. However, the cab still needs work. Yeah, I'm trying to avoid this thing like the plague because I don't want to crawl underneath it and grind and get all dirty yet. So, but we will. That'll be on the next video. We'll get underneath there. I'm not going to bore you with all the grinding, but we'll get this thing put back together so we can get the brakes back together. Get the pedals, the steering, everything set up on this thing for the next one. All right, that's going to do it for this video. So I appreciate y'all for being here this long, if you've made it this far. So if you like this video, leave a like down there. Leave me a comment. Let me know what I can do better. And subscribe while you're at it. Why not? It's free. So until next time, I will see y'all later.